Hey, hey, beautiful souls. Welcome to Signals and Standards with Suzie, the show where we decode mixed messages, raise the bar, and serve up real talk with a side of empowerment. I'm your host, Suzie, your go-to for truth bombs, clarity, and the kind of tough love that gets you unstuck and back in the driver's seat of your life. Together, let's turn those signals into action. Welcome to Signals and Standards with Suzie. This is your space for straight talk, real empowerment, and the clarity check we all need now and then. I'm Suzie, your host, your coach, and your reminder that your standards aren't too high. In fact, they're just finally in alignment with who you really are. Today's episode is called When Mixed Signals Aren't So Mixed. We're exploring why people often say one thing and do another, how our minds attempt to make sense of it, and how you can step out of the whirlwind of confusion and into a deep-rooted self-trust. We'll break down psychological patterns like cognitive dissonance and confirmation bias, answer your listener questions, drop some truth backtracks, and leave you with powerful challenge and affirmation to carry you through the week. Ready? Let's do this. So let's talk about one of the most significant sources of stress in human relationships and in life. Mixed signals. You know, when people act one way one day and another way the next day. They're hot for you today but ignore you tomorrow. How frustrating is that? Let me tell you, from personal experience, it's maddening. Throughout my personal and professional life, this has been a loud reality. From work to friendship to love, we've all felt the frustration of inconsistent behavior. Am I right? Mixed messages hijack your brain's reward system, keeping you hooked like a slot machine, chasing that emotional clarity that rarely comes. Studies show that inconsistent affection, like mixed messages, activates the same neural pathways as addiction, making people crave connection even when it's toxic. But here's the truth. Most mixed signals aren't actually what you think they are. Hear me out. Our brains crave consistency. We see what we want to see so we can feel more comfortable. When someone tells us they value us, but then they repeatedly ignore us, it triggers cognitive dissonance, a mental discomfort that arises from holding conflict beliefs. To resolve it, we cling to the part that we want to believe. But emotional consistency isn't a puzzle to solve. It's a warning signal. Let's dig a little deeper into cognitive dissonance. It was coined by the psychologist Leon Festinger in the 1950s. Cognitive dissonance refers to internal tension that we experience when we hold two conflicting beliefs or when our actions don't align with our values. The discomfort is real, and our brain wants to resolve it fast. Here's what that looks like in real life. Someone says they love you, but they disappear when you really need them. You think and maybe believe that they care, but their behavior suggests otherwise. Now, holding both of those ideas simultaneously is emotionally exhausting. I mean, we've all been there. So instead of challenging the inconsistency, most people resolve the discomfort by justifying it. You might find yourself saying something like, "Oh, they're just busy. Oh, they've been through a lot," or "Maybe I'm expecting too much." Sound familiar? Slowly, you start bending your reality to make their inconsistent behavior make sense. But here's the catch. The dissonance or the disconnect doesn't go away. It just gets buried, and it shows up deep inside you as anxiety, as self-doubt, or even resentment towards yourself and the other person. What breaks this vicious cycle? Clarity. Yep. When you finally acknowledge to yourself that their words say one thing, but their actions consistently say another, you move from confusion to power. It's not about blaming them. It's about believing in and standing up for yourself. So instead of asking, What did they mean by that? And overthinking it for days, asking everyone and anyone who will listen, start asking, what am I experiencing from them over time? What are their patterns? Your nervous system and those closest to you will thank you for choosing consistency over chaos. Remember earlier I mentioned another term, confirmation bias. What this means is that we tend to filter reality through what we hope to be true. We all do this. We ignore the patterns that show up again and again and latch on to exceptions and excuses. We hold on to words instead of behavior and actions. We even make excuses for them. But as we all know deep down, people don't exist in exceptions. They exist in patterns. So how to deal with this? Well, you need to ask yourself, what is this person consistently showing me? Everyone can have a bad day or a bad week, but what is their behavior over time? The answer is almost always there. Challenge yourself to see the truth, even if it's painful or uncomfortable, or even outside your comfort zone, or if it even means cutting this person from your life for your own mental health. Before we dive into some questions, I want you to pause for a moment and really check in with yourself. Think about the last time someone's words didn't match their actions. Maybe a friend, a partner, a colleague. How did it make you feel? Confused? Frustrated? Or maybe you questioned yourself. Here's the challenge. Don't rush past those feelings. Instead, ask yourself, where in my life am I giving people the benefit of the doubt instead of trusting the patterns I see? Hold that thought as we jump into some question and answer, Real Talk with Suzie. And I'm going to be answering listener questions, unpacking what's really happening when people send mixed signals, and exploring how to reclaim your clarity and peace. All right, let's jump right in. So, first question. They say they care about me, but they keep canceling and not replying to my text until way later. Am I overreacting or being dramatic by wanting to pull away? Well, not at all. In fact, what you're doing isn't overreacting. It's correcting a pattern that's been draining you. As I've often spoken about, we need to stop tolerating inconsistency. People who care and value you show up for you. They don't keep you guessing. If someone says they value you, but they're always canceling or ghosting your texts, that's not a gray area. That's a pattern. And you're allowed to respond to the pattern, not just the performance. Psychologist Dr. Brené Brown defines trust through reliability. And you know that reliability isn't random. It's consistent. It has to be. Someone hot and cold doesn't get extra credit for their good moments if they're constantly making you question your place or where you stand with them. Even in those good moments felt, oh, so good. Hey, I've been there. I know. It's hard. And let's talk about what really happens when we ignore this type of behavior. You start second guessing yourself. You blame your expectations. You start working harder for less. But here's the truth I've said many times before. Accepting poor treatment teaches people they can get away with it. Pulling away from this isn't dramatic. It's self-respect based on facts. And it's incredibly empowering. What you're doing right now is drawing a line. You're saying, if your effort can't match your words, I will believe your effort and not your words. Remember, actions, not words. Believe me, it's not about punishing them. You're protecting yourself. And you're not being cold. You're finally being the extraordinary and empowered person you're meant to be. You don't need a major excuse to step away from someone who's only half showing up for you. You need consistency. You deserve it. Remember this. When you stop chasing mixed signals, you make room for real ones. So no, you're not overreacting. You're reclaiming your standards, your time, and your peace. And that is not dramatic. That, my friend, is empowering. Here's our second question. My friend teases me constantly, then says I'm too sensitive. Should I say something? Yes, you absolutely should say something. Because that's not how real friends, family, or lovers should treat each other. This kind of behavior is what I've often called out as a classic case of passive aggressiveness. In fact, it's actually hostility dressed up as humor. When someone makes repeated digs or jabs or jokes at your expense and then turns it back on you by calling you too sensitive, what they're really doing is avoiding accountability for their words and actions. That's not lighthearted. It's dismissive. Not cool. Healthy communication doesn't leave you questioning your worth. And friendship, just like any close relationship, it's supposed to feel like a safe space, not a performance review. So yes, say something, but say it with clarity, not confrontation. Try something like this. When you say, insert a specific example, it makes me feel, insert a feeling. So like when you say that my hair looks like a clown put their finger in a socket, it makes me feel insecure or it makes me feel bad about myself. I know you may not mean to, but it affects me negatively. Notice you're not accusing, name calling, or being dramatic. You're simply owning your experience. That is emotional maturity, and it puts the ball in their court. Now here's what you must pay attention to, their response. Someone who truly cares about you will listen, reflect, validate, and make the effort to adjust. They certainly won't make fun of you. They won't gaslight your feelings or double down on the behavior or even dismiss it. If they do, that's a red flag. It's a signal and not a mixed one. Listen, you're not too sensitive. You're just taking notice when people are being insensitive. You've outgrown relationships where you've had to shrink to fit in. That is personal growth. And sometimes, yes, that means reevaluating the people you've kept close to you, even if they've been around a long time. You're not asking for perfection from those around you. You're asking for basic respect. And that's not too much to ask from anyone. Protect your peace. Surround yourself with people who build you up, not tear you down. You don't need sarcasm or meanness in disguise. You need solid support. That's what real friends bring to the table. And that is what you deserve. Here's our third and final question. Why do I keep giving people the benefit of the doubt, even when their actions hurt me? That's such an honest and vulnerable question, and trust me, you're not alone in this pattern. The short answer, emotional conditioning. But let's unpack that. Many of us were raised to be understanding, give grace, or not make a big deal when someone acts out of line. And when someone's actions don't match their words, like when they say they care but disappear, or when they hurt us and minimize it and do not take accountability for it. I've often spoken about how we frequently ignore red flags because we don't want to start over, we don't want to be alone, or because we think we're being too picky. And even sometimes we believe we don't deserve better. But what we're really doing is bargaining with our peace. We take on projects hoping that their potential will finally align with their patterns. Let me tell you something. It rarely does. Giving the benefit of the doubt becomes a habit when we believe people's behavior is a reflection of their struggles instead of acknowledging how it impacts our well-being. And let's be honest, sometimes we give chance after chance because we're afraid that setting boundaries will mean losing that connection with the person. But here's the truth I've shared so many times before. If you lose someone by asking for clarity or consistency, or even respect, you never had them to begin with. Listen, You're allowed to want more. You're allowed to stop making excuses for other people. You're allowed to choose truth, not just someone's potential. You deserve it. So if you keep giving people the benefit of the doubt, ask yourself, what do I gain by staying in this confusing situation? And what do I lose by walking away from it? Remember, trust what you see, not what you hope for. Before we move on to our next segment, I want you to take a moment and really reflect. Ask yourself, where in my life am I holding out for consistency from someone who keeps showing up inconsistently? Think about it. What is the pattern actually costing you? Your energy, your peace, your confidence? Often we get caught in the hope that someone will finally get it or that things will change. But patterns don't lie. They tell the story that words alone often can't. And recognizing that story, that's where clarity starts. Hold on to that thought, because next I'm sharing a powerful insight from a past client session, one that shines a light on how spotting the pattern can completely change the way you respond to mixed signals. So stick around. Well, talking about mixed messages really brings to mind a powerful coaching session I had that's worth sharing with you. A client once told me, "My partner always says they're committed to us, but they still won't introduce me to their friends or their family. And it's been almost a year." She kept trying to justify it. "Oh, they're private. Maybe the timing isn't right." Or, "I don't want to push too hard and scare them away." But deep down she felt it. Something wasn't lining up. Something was off. After we unpacked it, she stopped making excuses and started listening to the gap between what her partner was saying and how they were showing up for her and how it was misaligned. Their words were loving and they had a great time together, sure, but their actions were what truly mattered. They screamed total hesitation and also avoidance. What was their partner hiding? What were they avoiding? Once she stopped decoding the mixed signals and faced the reality of the pattern, she found her voice. She calmly brought it up, asked for clarity, and made it clear what she needed in a relationship. The outcome? It revealed the truth that although he loved hanging out with her and having her in his life, he wasn't seeing her as his forever person. That knowledge gave her the freedom to stop waiting for this person to change and come around, and the courage to walk away, the courage to choose those who were more aligned with her values. And frankly, it allowed her to be available to choose those who choose her. Coming to this conclusion meant she had to do an alignment assessment. So here's what it looks like. You want to track behavior versus words. Look for truth in patterns, not one-offs that make you feel good. Especially stay away from the love bombers or even those who give you empty praise. Those people only feed your ego, but not your soul. You want to mirror their energy. Pull back when they do with calm, not chaos. Don't let them take up space they didn't earn. Your mental health matters, so don't let them mess with that. Stand in your standard. Saying, "This doesn't work for me," is clarity, not confrontation. Don't be afraid to communicate your standards and your expectations. Drop the fixer reflex. Your job isn't to try to fix someone. It isn't to translate their actions in words. You're a decision maker, not a renovator. So don't take on projects for their potential. When you do this, you give yourself the clarity to make informed, empowered choices. You deserve that. So why settle for behavior that falls short of the respect you're worthy of? As we move forward, I've got a challenge for you this week. Something that can really shift the way you respond to mixed signals. I want you to take a clarity inventory. Look at your life and pinpoint one relationship or situation where inconsistency is quietly stealing your peace. Be honest with yourself. What are you really seeing? Not what you hope to see, not what you want to believe, what is actually happening. Then choose one way you're going to respond differently. Maybe it's pulling back, speaking up, or even you can set a boundary. Whatever it is, let it be a deliberate choice, because reclaiming your clarity and peace is always about what you do next. And it's totally empowering. I'm now going to share some powerful takeaways and practical steps that will help you walk away feeling stronger, clearer, and more in control of your energy and your life. So here's an affirmation for this week, and I want you to repeat it with me. I believe what I see. I trust actions over words. I honor my peace. Again, louder. I believe what I see. I trust actions over words. I honor my peace. This is your new filter. This is your new freedom. Write it down. Keep repeating it. Make it your mantra for this week. I believe what I see. I trust actions over words. I honor my peace. That's a wrap on today's episodes. Join us next week for another empowering topic. For daily inspiration and practical advice, find me on social media at Power Coach Suzie.